I wasn't planning on going back to the cabin that year. Easter had always been kind of a thing for my family. Pastel decorations, the weird lamb-shaped cake my aunt insisted on making every single year, and of course, the egg hunt. But after my mom died, it just felt forced. My dad still wanted to keep the tradition going, said it was what she would have wanted. So I caved. I packed a weekend bag, grabbed a bottle of cheap red wine, and drove the 3 hours upstate to the old family cabin in the woods. I was the last to arrive. My cousins were already there, along with my Uncle Rick and his new girlfriend, whose name I could never remember. Everyone was pretending to be cheerful, lots of laughter, hugging, pastel dresses and plaid shirts, but something about it all felt off. Too performative. You know that feeling when everyone's smiling too hard? Yeah. Like that. The cabin itself hadn't changed much. Still had that musky wood smell, that familiar creak in the floorboard near the fireplace. But there was something new. A wicker basket by the front door, filled with brown speckled eggs. Not the plastic kind. Real eggs. Carefully arranged in straw, like someone had gone full Martha Stewart on a farmcore aesthetic. Who brought those? I asked, pointing at the basket. My cousin Jenna shrugged. They were here when we got in. Figured Dad set it up for the hunt. Uncle Rick was outside smoking, and when we asked him later, he said he didn't bring them either. Thought we had. It didn't feel like much at the time, just a weird little mystery. Maybe one of the neighbors. A welcome gift? I mean, people out there were the kind who still baked pies for new move-ins. We chalked it up to country kindness and didn't give it much thought. The next morning, we started the egg hunt. It was tradition. Adults hid the eggs around the property while the kids got their baskets ready. But this year, something strange happened. The kids started finding eggs no one remembered hiding. Like dozens of them. They weren't plastic. They weren't dyed. Just more of those brown speckled eggs. And they were hidden in really strange places. One in the chimney flue. One inside an old boot nailed to a tree. Another was found buried under leaves, almost like someone had been digging. The weirdest one was in the doghouse. We hadn't had a dog in 5 years. Everyone laughed it off at first. The Easter Bunny's getting creative, someone joked. But I noticed my uncle's face. He wasn't laughing. He looked confused. Maybe even scared. That night I couldn't sleep. The wind kept brushing against the window screen, like something was moving around out there. At around 2:13 a.m., I got up to use the bathroom. That's when I saw it. Another egg. Sitting on the windowsill inside the bathroom. Still damp. Like it had just been placed there. I just stood there for a second, staring at it. That damn egg on the windowsill. Same as the others, brown speckled, slightly glossy. But this one, it was wet. Like someone had carried it in from the rain, only there hadn't been any rain. Not that day, not the day before. My fingers hovered just above it, and I swear, I felt a faint warmth radiating off the shell. I didn't touch it. I went back to bed, but I barely slept. Every creak of the cabin felt deliberate, like footsteps where there shouldn't have been any. Every gust of wind carried something with it, an almost metallic scent, like iron and damp earth. The next morning, I told my cousin Jenna about the egg. She laughed at first, until I mentioned it being inside the cabin. Her smile dropped a little then. "You sure it wasn't one of the kids messing around?" she asked. "Pretty sure. It was on the second floor windowsill. Bathroom windows locked from the inside." We agreed not to tell the kids or Uncle Rick. Easter Sunday was supposed to be fun, and we didn't want to freak anyone out over what was probably just a prank. But then Tommy, the youngest of the kids, maybe 6 or 7, came running into the living room holding something in his cupped hands. Crying. "It cracked," he kept saying. We calmed him down enough to see what he was carrying. It was one of the speckled eggs. Or what was left of it. It had split cleanly down the middle, not smashed, like it had hatched. Inside was this thin, sticky yellowish goo, with bits of dark, stringy hair matted to the shell. Not chick fluff. Hair. Thick, wiry, almost black. And the smell, God. Like something rotting inside an old metal can. We had to open the windows. Tommy kept saying he didn't drop it. That it opened by itself. That it moved in his hands. We tried to laugh it off again, told him maybe it was just a rotten egg, some weird fluke. But I could tell none of the adults bought it. Especially not when Uncle Rick found 3 more eggs outside the back door that afternoon, lined up perfectly on the porch steps, like someone had arranged them there. He threw them into the woods. Didn't say a word. That night, I stayed up late reading in bed, trying to ignore the scratching noise that kept coming from inside the walls. Around 1 a.m., the scratching stopped. But I heard a soft thump downstairs. Then another. And another. I crept out of bed, cracked the door open, and listened. I swear to you, I heard someone whispering. Not a voice I recognized. Low. Raspy. Like someone trying to speak without waking the house. It said, "They're not for you." I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I sat there in bed, knees pulled to my chest, staring at the crack in the bedroom door where the whisper had come through. Eventually the sound stopped, and that horrible stillness settled over the cabin again, the kind that doesn't feel peaceful, just wrong. Like the quiet's hiding something. The next morning, no one mentioned anything strange. Not out loud, at least. Everyone looked exhausted. Jenna had bags under her eyes, and Rick looked like he hadn't slept at all. Even the kids were quiet, just pushing cereal around their bowls. Then my aunt, well, technically my uncle's girlfriend, though she acted like she ran the place, got this brilliant idea to get everyone back in the Easter spirit. She wanted to do one last egg hunt. Make it extra special, she said. Let's do it at dusk. Candles, flashlights, a nighttime Easter egg adventure. I wanted to scream. No one else did. So yeah? That evening, we gathered the kids, grabbed some flashlights and battery lanterns, and headed outside. The woods around the cabin were quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet where you suddenly notice how loud your breathing is. Everyone scattered, and I stayed near the tree line, pretending to help little Tommy look for eggs while keeping my eyes peeled for anything weird. That's when we found the trail. It was subtle, barely visible in the grass. A line of those same speckled eggs, spaced evenly apart, leading away from the cabin and into the woods. I counted 8 of them, just sitting there like they were waiting to be picked up. Each one perfectly clean, no dirt or pine needles clinging to the shells. Like they'd just been placed. Let's go back, I told Tommy, but he was already ahead of me, drawn to the line like it was a game he had to finish. Tommy, stop! I grabbed his arm. That's when I noticed something. The trees were different where the trail led. Tighter together. The branches above were tangled so thick they blotted out the last light of the setting sun. Like a tunnel. Tommy froze, staring down the path. Do you hear that? He whispered. I listened. There was something. A faint, clicking noise. Like claws on wood. Then a sound that made my spine lock up completely. The rustle of breathing. Heavy. Slow. Wet. I yanked Tommy back so hard he dropped his flashlight. It spun in the dirt, its beam catching something at the edge of the woods. Something pale. A leg. Not human. Not animal. Just wrong. Bent the wrong way, like a snapped twig. Covered in thin, patchy fur and twitching slightly. I picked up Tommy and ran. Didn't stop until we were back on the porch, gasping for air. No one else had seen it. They were still out there. Some of them laughing. Calling to each other. I was shaking so hard I could barely speak. But when Uncle Rick came back with the rest of the group, I pulled him aside and told him everything. He didn't ask questions. He just nodded, slowly. Said, "You saw it too, huh?" Uncle Rick lit a cigarette with shaking hands. We were standing on the side of the cabin, where the porch light barely reached. The woods were dark, pulsing with silence. He took a long drag, then finally said, "I saw it 2 years ago. Easter Sunday." I didn't say anything. Just waited. He went on, low voice, eyes never leaving the tree line. We thought it was a fox, maybe a raccoon. It'd leave these weird piles in the yard, twigs, rabbit fur, eggshells. No footprints. No mess. Just arrangements. Like a ritual. Then, one morning, I caught a glimpse of it. Way out past the shed. Thought it was a person at first. But it wasn't. I asked him what it looked like. He shook his head. You ever seen a deer walk wrong? Like it's pretending to be a person, but it just doesn't get it? That's the best way I can describe it. And it was holding something. A basket. That word hit me like a punch to the gut. That was the first year the eggs started showing up, he continued. Real eggs, same as now. Speckled. Warm to the touch. We never talked about it because, hell, what do you say? Hey, some woodland nightmare left us a gift basket? I asked why he kept coming back. He sighed. It's the family cabin. And we thought, maybe if we didn't bother it, it wouldn't bother us. Last year was quiet. No eggs. No sightings. I thought we were done. Then this year, it came back. A long silence stretched between us. That was when we heard a sound from behind the house. A low, warbling cooing noise. Not like a bird, more like a person trying to sound like one. We froze. Then the porch light flickered. For a second, everything was pitch black. I fumbled for my phone flashlight, but before I could turn it on, the light snapped back, and there, at the edge of the yard, just visible beyond the last pine tree, something stood there. Lanky. Crooked. Pale. Its face too smooth, like wax, with wide black pits where its eyes should have been. And nestled in the crook of one long arm. A basket. Full of speckled eggs. I blinked, and it was gone. Uncle Rick didn't move. Didn't blink. Just said, it never comes close to the house. But I wasn't so sure. Because when I went back inside later that night, I found something on my pillow. Another egg. And scratched into the wall above the headboard, in what looked like dried mud, or maybe something worse, were 4 words. You took one back. I barely slept. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that figure at the tree line. The basket. The eggs. The eyes that weren't eyes. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I had to return the egg. Maybe it was stupid, but something about that message, you took one back, it didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a warning. Like we'd broken some rule we didn't know we were playing by. Like we'd accepted a gift that wasn't meant for us. I wrapped the egg in a dish towel, tucked it in my coat pocket, and headed outside before anyone else was up. The woods looked different in the daylight, less sinister, more brittle and quiet. But the tension was still there, stretched tight in the cold morning air. I followed the faint trail where the eggs had been the night before. The ground was soft, like it had been turned recently. There were footprints, bare, narrow, and deep. They weren't mine. I walked until I reached a clearing I didn't remember ever seeing before. Small, maybe 10 feet across. Ringed in trees so dense they looked woven together. Like a cage. And in the center there was a stump. Carved into it were more of those eggs, some whole, some broken open and empty. Like something had already hatched. I stepped into the clearing and placed the towel-wrapped egg on the stump, carefully. I didn't say anything. I didn't know if it wanted words, or if it understood them. I turned to leave, but froze when I heard a sound. Crunch. Like a footstep behind me. I spun around. Nothing. No, wait. The towel was gone. The egg was still there, but now it was cracked and the towel? Draped over a branch 10 feet up. Hung like a signal. Or a warning. Or both. That was when I noticed the smell. It hit like a wave, wet copper, mold, and something like old meat left in the sun. Then something moved just beyond the clearing. I didn't look. I couldn't. My body made the decision for me. I ran. I didn't stop until I was back at the cabin, lungs burning, sweat freezing on my skin. I slammed the door behind me. And there, sitting neatly on the kitchen counter, was another egg. Same shape. Same speckles. But this one was bigger. Much bigger. About the size of a grapefruit. And it was twitching. The egg on the counter twitched again. This time, I heard it, like something brushing against the inside of the shell. Slow. Deliberate. Alive. I didn't know what to do. Smashing it felt like tempting fate. Leaving it there felt worse. Like an invitation. Uncle Rick walked in behind me, mid-yawn, and stopped dead when he saw it. "Where'd that come from?" he asked, already knowing the answer. I told him about the clearing. About the stump. About the towel in the tree. His face went pale. "You shouldn't have gone alone," he said quietly. "That thing, it doesn't just leave eggs. It exchanges them." I stared at him. "What the hell does that mean?" He took a long breath, eyes still locked on the egg. "I don't know exactly. But whatever's in there, it's not just alive. It's watching. Waiting." That word, waiting, made my stomach twist. Tommy came in then, rubbing his eyes, holding one of those cheap plastic bunny toys you get from a gas station. He glanced at the counter. "What's that?" he asked, stepping toward the egg. "Don't touch it!" I snapped, louder than I meant to. He flinched and backed off. I could see the fear in his eyes, but something else too, confusion. Like the egg wasn't scary to him. Like it was familiar. We decided to move it. Gently, without breaking it. Uncle Rick grabbed an old shoebox from the closet and lined it with a towel. We placed the egg inside, shut the lid, and set it in the unused guest room, the one with the broken window that nobody ever stayed in. We agreed to check on it later. But later came too fast. That afternoon, we heard a sound. A high-pitched squeal. Not like an animal, more like metal grinding, but wet somehow. From the guest room. We opened the door. The box was on its side. The towel was shredded. And the egg? Gone. In its place, a trail of dark, glistening footprints. Small. Bare. Three-toed. Leading out of the room and up the stairs. To the attic. The door was open. None of us remembered opening it. Uncle Rick grabbed a flashlight and stepped forward. "Don't," I whispered. "It doesn't want to be found." He turned to me, and I'll never forget the look in his eyes. "It already has been." We stood at the bottom of the attic steps for longer than I'd care to admit. The kind of silence that hums in your ears. Even the kids were quiet now. Like they knew. Uncle Rick finally started up the steps, slow, each footfall creaking like it was announcing his presence. I followed, flashlight in hand, heart banging against my ribs like it was trying to escape. The attic door was one of those old pull-down types with a fraying rope handle. It hung open, yawning above us like a mouth. The ladder groaned under our weight. The attic had always been a catch-all. Boxes of Christmas lights, broken fans, dusty furniture nobody could bring themselves to throw out. But now, it was cold. Colder than it should have been. The kind of cold that doesn't come from weather, it radiates. We scanned with our flashlights. Shadows lunged with every movement. Nothing at first. Just the usual clutter, thick dust motes swirling in the beams of light. Then Uncle Rick said, "There. Look." In the far corner, something was huddled between two old dressers. It was small. Wet. Pale. Hunched over with its back to us, like a hairless dog curled in on itself. And it was twitching, the same twitch the egg made. I stepped closer, just a few feet, flashlight trembling in my grip. That's when it turned its head. And I swear to you, it had Tommy's face. Not exactly. But close enough. Same eyes. Same little upturned nose. Just stretched. Pulled too tight over bone. Mouth wider than it should have been, like it was practicing how to smile. Then it opened that mouth. And chirped. Not a word. A chirp. A warbling, bird-like trill that felt wrong coming from something with human lips. Rick grabbed my arm. "Back down. Now." We retreated slowly. It didn't move. It just sat there, watching us, head tilted like it was confused or curious. Once we were down, Rick slammed the attic shut and dragged a chair under the hatch. "We're leaving," he said. I nodded. "Yeah. Now." We started packing. Fast. Tossing bags into cars, yelling for the kids to stay close. I glanced out the back window one last time. And saw something standing at the edge of the woods. Not the child thing. The tall one. The egg bearer. Its face was upturned, watching the cabin. Like it knew what we'd seen. Like it was waiting for us to understand something. And I did. Not all the eggs are gifts. Some are invitations. And some? Some are replacements. We left in a convoy. 2 cars. Rick drove one with Jenna and the kids. I took the second, alone. The plan was to get to the gas station 15 miles out, regroup, then figure out where to go from there. We never made it that far. About 5 miles into the drive, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Jenna. "Tommy's not talking. Keeps whispering to himself. Keeps saying, it's still in the attic." I didn't know what to say to that. But what chilled me more? Less than a minute later, I got another message. From an unknown number. "The egg was not yours to open." I stopped responding after that. Just drove. I reached the gas station first. Waited. 5 minutes. 10. No sign of Rick's car. I tried calling. No answer. Eventually, Jenna called me back. They'd had to pull over. Tommy started screaming in the back seat, thrashing like he was having a seizure. But when they stopped and opened the door, he went completely still. Just sat there, breathing heavy, eyes wide. Said, "It's walking behind us." They didn't see anything. But they said the road behind them looked off. Trees bending the wrong way. Like something massive had passed through without touching a single branch. They were about 2 miles out when they heard something on the roof. Not a thud. A scratch. Like claws. Long, slow. Testing the weight. They drove the rest of the way with Tommy sobbing in Jenna's lap, refusing to look out the windows. When they finally pulled up beside me, I jumped out and ran to the car. Rick got out white as a sheet. Said just one thing. "We didn't leave it behind." That night, we checked into a motel. 2 rooms. Rick and Jenna with the kids in one. Me alone in the other. I kept the lights on. TV too. Didn't sleep. At 3:17 a.m., I heard a knock at my door. 3 short taps. Then silence. I crept to the peephole. Nobody there. But something was blocking the light in the hallway. A shadow. Tall. Slender. Motionless. I backed away, heart slamming, and that's when I heard it. That same chirping. The same sound from the attic. But this time? It was 2 voices. One deep. One higher. Harmonizing. Like a lullaby. The knock came again. When I looked through the peephole again, the hallway was empty. But now, sitting in front of my door, was another egg. Wrapped in a towel. One of ours. I didn't touch the egg. Didn't open the door. Just stared at it through the peephole, breath fogging the wood as the silence stretched longer and heavier. The towel it was wrapped in. My shirt. The same one I'd packed in my duffel bag. I backed away, chest tightening, heart thudding loud enough I could feel it in my ears. I texted Rick. "Check your door. Now." No reply. I waited 2 minutes, then did something stupid. I opened my door. The hallway was empty. Egg gone. But there was something new. A trail of moist footprints on the carpet. 3-toed. Leading away from my door and toward the other room. Rick's room. I sprinted barefoot down the hall and pounded on their door. No answer. I kept knocking until Jenna flung it open, eyes wild. Behind her, the room was a mess. Sheets ripped off the beds. Rick on the floor, flashlight pointed toward the bathroom. Tommy was sitting on the sink. Just sitting there, legs dangling. Smiling. "I didn't open it," he whispered, like it was a secret between friends. It opened me. I didn't understand what he meant. But then he reached out. Palm up. And there, nestled in his tiny hand, was a fragment of shell. Crimson-stained. Still warm. Rick and Jenna were frozen. The air in that room was wrong, heavier, like breathing underwater. And the smell. That coppery, rotting stench from the attic was back. But stronger. Closer. That's when the lights cut out. All of them. The room, the hallway, the entire motel. The only light came from Rick's flashlight, now shaking in his hand. He pointed it toward the far wall. And there it was. Pressed against the wallpaper, stretching up toward the ceiling. That thing. Long limbs. That waxy, eyeless face. Mouth agape, stretched wider than humanly possible. Its chest, heaving. Like it was in labor. And from the shadow between its arms, another thing stepped forward. Smaller. A child-sized version. Same mouth. Same twitch. And it looked exactly like Tommy. Except it was smiling too much. Tommy, the real one, just whispered. He said I was never supposed to leave. The flashlight flickered. And when the light came back, both figures were gone. So was the egg. So was Tommy. We tore apart the room. Checked under beds, behind furniture, even the damn ceiling panels. Nothing. He was just gone. But the mirror? It wasn't empty. In the glass, his reflection remained. Grinning. Holding another egg. We didn't go to the police. What would we say? A kid got taken by something that leaves eggs and wears your face like a hand-me-down sweater. Yeah. No. We checked out of the motel at sunrise. Left the town behind like it was cursed ground. Jenna was silent the whole drive, just staring at the empty seat where Tommy had sat. Rick kept muttering to himself, stuff that didn't make sense. He hatched too early. The first one always takes. It only needs one. I didn't go home. Couldn't. I crashed at a friend's apartment in the city. Told them I was sick. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Every night I'd wake up at 3:17 a.m., always the same minute, heart pounding, ears ringing with that sound. That chirping. Then Easter Monday came. And with it the package. No return address. Just a plain cardboard box, taped shut. It was waiting for me on my friend's doorstep when I got back from grabbing coffee. I thought it was something of mine they'd ordered, maybe trying to cheer me up. But when I picked it up, it chirped. I dropped it. From inside, something moved. Shifted. Pressed against the inside wall of the box. Then, tap tap tap. Like little fingers. My hands were shaking as I tore the tape open, even though I knew exactly what was inside. An egg. But not like the others. This one was black. Slick. Almost leathery. Veined with red lines that pulsed slowly, like veins beneath the skin. It wasn't just alive. It was aware. And there was a note beneath it. Handwritten. Scrawled in something that looked disturbingly like dried blood. You watched it hatch. You followed it home. Now you're the nest. I ran to the sink and tried to smash the egg. But it didn't break. The counter cracked. The sink cracked. The egg didn't. I wrapped it in a towel, stuffed it in a bag, and dumped it in a trash can 2 blocks away. Felt good for about 20 minutes. Then I came back to my friend's apartment. It was sitting on the pillow. Dry now. Still pulsing. I left that night. Haven't stayed in one place more than a week since. Jenna's not okay. Rick disappeared last month. I don't know if he ran, or if they came back for him. And me? I've been writing this down. Trying to make sense of it. Trying to warn someone. Anyone. Because Easter's coming around again. And I just found another egg on my windowsill. I live on the 3rd floor. There's no fire escape. And it's still warm.